I sat on the side of the road, drunk like a quail, in a daze. I saw a little familiar little brother. He said he was going to pick me up and take me home. After being broken up, I went to the bar to get drunk. In a daze, I saw an old woman working on a handsome man. Let it go. I carried the bottle and yelled. With the momentum of a drunkard smashing the field, the little handsome guy looked up, and his face was quite delicate. I rushed over domineeringly with the strength of the wine. In front of the public, you want to be rude. The whole bar was choked by my loud voice. I looked at them with disdain. If even we, the young people, do not help the world, what hope is there for the world? I am proud of my justice. The next moment, I saw the little handsome guy looking at me complicatedly, and then looked at the people around him. Auntie, I'm not cold. Don't wear it first. I'm cracked. Aunt. So it wasn't indecent just now. It was wearing clothes. Although I was a little ghosted in front of my eyes when I was drunk, I also knew that it was embarrassing. I'm sorry. I quickly bowed and apologized. And after finishing speaking, I covered my face and ran. I thought that no one would ever know about this, and I would never do such a stupid thing again. But I didn't expect the slap in the face to come so quickly. The second time we met was on the third day after I broke up, and that scumbag went to my company to ruin my reputation. But when I went to work today, I saw that everyone's eyes on me changed. I was directly angry and cried, and I drank wildly. Fortunately, I squatted on the side of the road in the end, and I also knew to send a WeChat message to my girlfriend for help. I crouched on the side of the road and slept in a daze, and then I realized that a car was parked in front of me. The car door opened, and the smell of wine came to my face, and my whole body was shrouded in shadows, and a magnetic and slightly hoarse male voice sounded, Susie Sassoon. I looked vigilantly at the somewhat familiar little handsome guy in front of me, and met his slightly surprised look. I think he must have been shocked by my beauty, and became even more vigilant, and quickly shrunk himself into a ball. What do you want to do? My drunken words were a little floating. Your best friend asked me to pick you up. My best friend, Syvia Hell. I relaxed a little and looked up with a crying face. It's a delicate big boy, a plush pajamas with a down jacket wrapped in a random outside, hands in pockets, and slightly confused, and slightly reddened eyes that seem to have just woken up. It's like someone has just been pulled out of the bed. I subconsciously swallowed my saliva. This little boy really grew up in my aesthetics everywhere. It's just that it's a little familiar. Just when I was still confused, his thin but strong hand grabbed my armpit and carried me directly to the car like a child. I could clearly smell the smell of wine on him, and unlike the disgustingly strong smell of Philip John, he was a faint scent. Being thrown into a taxi by a boy younger than me, like a child, made my face feel a little hot. At this moment, a WeChat message came in from the mobile phone. Did you get it? I can't go back today. Let him accompany you, and ravage as you like. Accompany me. Trample. I've always known that my girlfriend is more open-minded, and in her opinion, life is meant to be enjoyed. So this is the little brother specially arranged for me. After more than 20 years of innocent love, I hesitated a little and replied to WeChat, Is that okay? What's so bad? The old lady spent the money. Spent money. I, who is a fan of money, instantly felt a pain in my flesh, and looked at the handsome guy in front of me again. The money was spent, and I didn't sleep in vain. I looked at his face again, and finally remembered where I had seen it, the other day at the bar, my large social death scene. I looked at my girlfriend's information, and suddenly I got a new idea. So, I didn't misunderstand that day, but that woman was my brother's financier. He looked at me stunned, a little embarrassed at first, then took off his down jacket and wrapped me in one hand. The warm down jacket still carries his breath. I just feel that my face is very hot, and my brain is even hotter. Go to my house. I endured my shyness and took the lead in speaking. After all, the hotel bed, I don't like dirty, and the environment is always better for the first time. He paused for a moment and nodded. In order to avoid embarrassment for a while, I was going to talk to him first. You guys are quite profitable, aren't you? Hey. How much does it cost a night? I asked tentatively, my little eyes quietly glancing at the little boy next to me, and I didn't know if Syvia Hell's stupid girl had been cheated. 2,000, I gasped, and silently put up a good guy sign for Syvia Hell. And in order to make me happy, I paid 2,000 yuan to order a little brother. But it's not easy to look at the little brother in front of him. Such a young and handsome little brother. I don't know how much destruction he has suffered. I made up my mind that I would be gentle with my brother for a while. When I arrived at my house, I hesitated for a while, went to the wine cabinet of my decorations, and took out a bottle of ergot. Dana Hal was also confused when she saw the wine in my hand, and her clean voice was a little surprised. Ergot, I smiled awkwardly. The reason why I have wine in this wine cabinet is because my dad will occasionally come to my place to steal wine, and this bottle of ergot is also bought by him, with the money saved by my mother. Don't worry about the wine, it's almost effective. I poured 2 glasses of wine, pinched my nose and drank it myself, and then looked at him with great interest. Within 2 minutes I felt a little dizzy in my head, and he hadn't drunk yet, so I poked his chest and asked in a stingy voice, "Aren't you drinking?" Syvia Hell told me before that when I asked a man if he drank in a good way, no man could stand up to my well-behaved, coquettish stingy voice. He blushed, took the wine and dried it directly. After a while, I began to use alcohol to dominate my brain, and I was working on this little shoot. Finally, when my sinful hand was about to pass through his pajamas and touch his abs, he couldn't help it, grabbed my restless hand, and asked me in a hoarse voice, what to do?" "Well, it costs money." "I'm right." I could clearly see Dana Hal with a look of confusion in her eyes. Looking at my little brother's confused little eyes, I instantly felt a little weak, and said very domineeringly, "Don't worry, my sister will be very gentle with you. I feel like I'm a scumbag who coaxes a little girl." Dana Hal rubbed her head and looked at me, leaning back on the couch in a daze, with an emotion in her eyes that I couldn't read. "Sister wants me to sleep with you." "Nonsense. The money is all spent. Am I that wasteful person? The money spent has to be worthwhile." I was so drunk that I threw myself into his arms. I snorted, "Carry me to my room." He hesitated, then decisively picked me up. When I woke up again, it was my best friend's life-threatening serial urging. I began to touch the phone on the bed in a daze, and before I could touch the source of the sound, I first touched the tight muscles on the side. I instantly woke up a little, and looked at the handsome little guy who was still asleep. I quietly touched it again. It's just that before I can succeed, my hand was caught, and the whole person was fished into his arms. "Sister, don't make trouble. Sleep again." I hurriedly covered my face with the quilt, and didn't dare to look at him again. I haven't been so bold with my boyfriend in 5 years, and who knows how I was so bold last night. However, this body physical strength is not a loss. As he spoke, the deadly chain buckle sounded again. I quickly reached for my phone. "Hey!" Syvia Hell's roar came from the other side of the phone. "Open the door." "Hey!" I'm still a little confused. "I've been calling you since the airport, and now I'm on your doorstep." I quickly got up from the bed, and glanced at the boy who hadn't woken up from the bed. "My best friend is here. You can sleep for a while." "Good," he responded with concern. I hurriedly got dressed and went out to open the door. Syvia Hell is a delicate woman, who came back by plane overnight, with a large bag and a bunch of things in her hand, and gave me a broken thought as she entered the door. "It's good that I have a younger brother, otherwise no one would pick you up at night, crying on the side of the road in the middle of the night. It's really not shameful enough for you to think of it." "Yes, yes, yes, thank you for your kindness." After saying that, I suddenly reacted to something wrong. "Brother, didn't I pick you up last night?" "My brother Dana Hal. I told you about that stinky boy." "My brother, I looked at the closed door to my bedroom, and I was all wrong. There are only 2 words left in my head. Brother. Remembering what I did last night, I can't wait to find a piece of tofu and kill me. "So you said last night that you spent money." I'm almost crying. What am I doing? Syvia Hell shook off her bag, and snuggled directly into the sofa. "Isn't it costly? My brother is really good enough. Let me pick up someone." 2000. I think back to what Syvia Hell told me that her brother smoked, drank, rebelled, and couldn't get in touch with that little milk dog last night. Forget it. I thought you couldn't think about it, if you lost a love. "See, you're fine. I'll make up for sleep," Syvia Hell said, rushing into my room. The door opened a gap, and I scurried over to it, plugging myself in the gap. No, if Syvia Hell were to see that her brother was still dying in my bed, it would be a big social death scene. Never. There's someone in the house. Syvia Hell raised an eyebrow and looked at me with disgust. I was stumbling. He's shy. Syvia Hell's expression, which was still careless, changed instantly. Shay, Susie Sassoon, you're out of luck. Really Tibetan. I covered my face. Okay, I know. Syvia Hell waved her hand. I told you a long time ago. The old one doesn't go. The new one doesn't come. The next one is better. After saying that, he nestled back on the sofa and winked at me ambiguously. This time, what is it, brother? I want to cry without tears. How is my brother feeling? Syvia Hell was so bad at gossiping that I didn't have the courage to talk to her about me and her brother in bed, so I rushed to coax her away. When I went back to bed, I saw my younger brother leaning lazily against the head of the bed, looking at me with a big grin. Sister, do you want to give me a name? I was so weak that I almost cried, so I hurriedly knelt on the bed and said weakly, that last night was a misunderstanding. Heh. Did my sister interrupt the chaos and abandon it? And turned her face and didn't recognize anyone. The accusatory voice, and the marks I scratched on his body, are still a reminder of my bestiality? I stumbled. Misunderstanding. What a misunderstanding. We are friends. Friends. When I saw him laughing, I felt even more empty. Don't dare to look him in the eye. Your sister is my best friend. I slept with her brother, and she didn't pick my skin if she knew. He nodded. Neatly. I looked at his back, and I inexplicably felt that he should be very unhappy. It's just that I didn't expect that we would meet again and come so quickly. I came home on the weekend and my dad asked me to pick up my mom, who was a doctor in the obstetrics and gynecology department of the hospital, from work. When I arrived, she still had patients to see before she finished reading, so she asked me to sit in the curtain and wait. Pregnant at such a young age. Are you the father of your children? My mother's voice of disapproval came. I'm not surprised. Now the child is not big. There are too many pregnant. But my mother is not used to this kind of thing. I have usually persuaded many times. She is a doctor, and other people's affairs are not in charge. I didn't see on the news that the profession of doctor was still being retaliated against. How dangerous. It's familiar, but I don't care. Soon I heard my mom call me. Susie Sassoon, get me a refill in the drawer. Oh, I went out with the refill, stunned. Dana Hal was with a small little girl, who looked to be in her early 20s. He was also surprised to see me, and immediately smiled. Sister, I didn't expect him to admit to knowing me. After all, we had a night together, and he was still with his pregnant girlfriend. You know, my mom looked up and looked at us. Yes, Syvia Hell, her brother. The girl gave Dana Hal a panicked look, and Dana Hal looked at me. Sister, don't tell my sister. Okay. I looked at him, a little embarrassed. I really didn't expect that this little brother is such a scumbag. Seeing this natural appearance, there was not the slightest awkwardness. Just say, how could he be so easily knocked down at that time? It turned out that he was still a sea king. Brother Syvia Hell. Then I have to say more. What will I do in the future if I have a baby at such a young age? I'm also at the age of getting married, so if I think about it, Mom, don't worry about so many things. I said something a little disgusted, and it was very awkward. The little girl bit her lip. Thank you, sister, it's my fault. I glared at Dana Hal fiercely. It wasn't all his fault, and it wasn't the little girl, who was guilty in the end, and the little girl came out to blame him. When I thought of this, I suddenly gasped, and we didn't seem to do anything about it that time. I panicked a little, and I had forgotten about Syvia Hell at the time. I went straight out of my mother's office, distracted all the way, and I didn't even know when a little tail followed. Before I could react, I was pressed against the wall of the hospital. I was startled, and hurriedly went to see if there was anyone around, but fortunately, the location was relatively hidden. I slandered in my heart, he would pick a place. Dana Hal, your girlfriend is still in there. I glared at him angrily. Why is this little boy so scummy? The little girl who deceived him gave him a fetus. He got closer and closer to me until his breath sprayed in my ear. Sister, are you jealous? I sighed. Little brother, you're such a scumbag. Your girlfriend is still pregnant, and you're in there? As for what happened to us that night, it was a misunderstanding. You also have a girlfriend, and I'm not interested in a boy younger than me. As soon as he finished speaking, I saw his eyes instantly become sharp. He took my hand and bit me the lips as if to vent. Dana Hal, I'm really a little angry. Although this little boy is delicious, but he is really a bit scummy. The little girl is still pregnant with his child, and he is still messing around outside. If he hadn't had a girlfriend and wasn't Syvia Hell's brother, maybe I could have tried to get along with my little brother. But now, it obviously doesn't fit my three views. She's not my girlfriend. This thing is too scummy, isn't it? I suddenly felt that as his sister's best friend, I had to educate him on a compulsory basis. I put on a straight face. Dana Hal, you're not right. It's not your girlfriend. You're getting pregnant. There's something wrong with your behavior. No, I have to tell your sister. I said that I was going to rummage through the phone in my bag. The next moment I was grabbed by the wrist and pressed back against the wall again. I suspect that this little brother is deliberately learning from others. Just when I was about to sink into the beauty of my little brother, he pinched my face fiercely. Stupid or not, I said it. It's not my girlfriend, and of course the child is not mine. I was a little embarrassed, but I didn't know why I still felt like I was holding my breath and suddenly letting go. I glanced at his face with some embarrassment. It was ugly. I was dumbfounded, coughing, misunderstanding. Well, my friends, Dana Hal explained, seeing my visibly softened tone with a hint of smugness. Hey, that's not just like things gather people in groups. I just misunderstood. I muttered quietly. I only have one woman, my sister. Are you responsible for me? He raised an eyebrow and looked at me with aggrieved little eyes. I gasped instantly. Dana Hal, we wouldn't have been able to do without this little girl. I slept with my best friend's brother. What do you want me to tell your sister? I'll tell you. He was categorical, with a sense of predation in his eyes. I was helpless. After that day, he came to the hospital to block me at every turn, and occasionally went to wait for me at the door of my company. He pestered me to eat and accompany me home, but I was adamant that I would not be allowed to appear in front of my parents. Dana Hal, what are you trying to do? I'm older than you. I'm older than you. I don't understand. He looked at me helplessly, and didn't answer. I gave up after asking a few times. He blocked me for 2 months, stayed with me for 2 months, and I was a little dependent on this feeling, until one day, he went crazy and wanted to take me home. I panicked. Dana Hal, you are still young. We have different views. You are possessive of me. You really like me is not me. When you are older, you will know that I am not suitable for you. Why do you say it's not suitable? Dana Hal's voice began to tremble, and her face was very ugly. My family is already urging me to go on a blind date, but you're only a senior, and my parents won't accept me finding such a young boy. What happened that time was that I was sorry for you, and I would do whatever I wanted to compensate you. I just feel like a scumbag at the moment, playing with other people's feelings, and then giving a breakup fee, patting my ass and leaving. Dana Hal's face instantly turned cold, and she turned to leave. I saw the sadness on his face as he turned around, and his chest tightened again. Later, Dana Hal didn't show up with me, and my life was still with my best friends, who went shopping and drank tea every day. But I didn't expect that Syvia Hell would actually join forces with my mom to cheat me. As I sat in the cafe and looked at the urban elite in front of me, I glared at Syvia Hell at the next table again. This is the goods, actually tricked me into a blind date. Susie Sassoon, I hope you can take care of your family more after you get married. I don't like women who have careers and attract butterflies without a family. If you have a child, I hope you will have 3. My mother likes to hold her grandson. You have to learn how to cook, and you have to cook for me every day in the future, as well as clothes. I am used to washing by hand. You have to pay attention in the future. And the man on the other side was chattering. I don't understand. It's all the 21st century. How did this man survive and not be killed until now? Syvia Hell's cosmetic was about to explode. Just as she was about to rush over, A man passing by suddenly bent down, and I was encircled in a shadow. I look up. Dana Hal. My heart beat faster, and I suddenly felt like I had been caught, and I didn't dare look into Dana Hal's eyes. He carried me inside, sat next to me, and wrapped his arms directly into my arms to look at the man opposite. Uncle, where did you get your confidence? Just like you still want to be my girlfriend. You're as handsome as me, or do I have money? Still playing the feudal one, using women as nannies. People like you, if you can find a girlfriend, they are all blind. I looked at him sideways, and this arrogant and cute look was so charming that if Syvia Hell hadn't been here, I would have been unabashedly with her brother. The man on the other side was very angry. You have a boyfriend and still come out on a blind date? Are you kidding me? Look at your badge, belongs to the Hal family's real estate. Let me tell you, 30 seconds. If you don't disappear in front of my eyes, your job will be gone. I looked at the elite on the other side and was momentarily stunned, then glared at me fiercely, and directly picked up my things, and turned around and left. My girlfriend rushed over and slapped Dana Hal at her. Okay, boy, well done. Sister, invite you to dinner. Dana Hal glanced at me, and a smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. Okay. The two sisters broke the bill. During the whole meal, this little cub rubbed my leg from time to time, and from time to time said, Sister, do you like to eat? Sister, would you like to drink some water? He was having fun, and I was terrified, afraid that Syvia Hell would find out something. Syvia Hell looked at her brother. Stinky boy, why didn't you care so much about me? The two of us know each other so well. What is there to care about? After saying that, he turned around again, with a smile on his lips. I had a bad feeling in my heart, but this sister and I still need in-depth exchanges. Cough, 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 cough. I choked on a mouthful of soup and almost coughed up my lungs. I'm sure this little cub did it on purpose, and he was taking revenge on me. I didn't dare look at Syvia Hell, and kicked my feet down. Susie Sassoon, are you sick? Syvia Hell looked at me and yelled. I was so embarrassed that I almost cried. Dana Hal's shoulders shook as she laughed. I glared at him a few times. Just as I was about to explain, Syvia Hell put my face on my face, and didn't let me move. I subconsciously wanted to see it. Oh, it's them. My split-leg ex-boyfriend Philip John, and my plastic sister Flower Angela Martin. As my best roommate in college, she knew everything about me, and learned that my boyfriend went to bed. I didn't know if Philip John was still feeling sorry for me, or what he was doing, but I saw him rush over. I was still torturing how he would react if he asked for a match for me, and he spoke. Susie Sassoon, I'm sorry for you, but what are you angry with Angela Martin? Because of you, and now her college roommates ignore her. I really can't understand how Philip John has the audacity to question me. Syvia Hell instantly stood in front of me. Philip John, you're sick in the head. Are you still justified in splitting your legs? Who wants to take care of her? Isn't it cheap? I pulled Syvia Hell and looked at Philip John. So where did you have the face to question me? You splitter. Susie Sassoon, it's not your fault that I split my legs. It's been 5 years, and I can't touch you. Who knows if you're clean or not, and you're still married? In case I'm to take over. Before I could finish speaking, I saw an afterimage in front of me. Then there's Dana Hal, riding on top of Philip John, and waving her fists. Philip John, who is also an adult male, quickly jumped at the chance to fight back. My brain crashed for a moment, and then I quickly stepped forward with Syvia Hell to pull someone. Dana Hal, stop fighting. Philip John, if you dare to fight again, I'll pass on the news of your splitting to your unit. Dana Hal. Dana Hal. I hugged Dana Hal to stop him from continuing. Dana Hal looked at Philip John coldly. I'll tell you. Let me hear a swear word about Susie Sassoon in your mouth again, and I'll kill you. My heart was pounding. I was scared. Having an affair with a puppy is all about that, and you have to worry about him all the time, because he often does things that exceed your expectations. I couldn't care about Syvia Hell anymore, so I dragged Dana Hal out. At some point, Syvia Hell didn't follow. He dragged me into the alley and kissed me the head. I could clearly feel his anger, pity, and a hint of overwhelm. My heart pounded as if it was being clawed. Susie Sassoon, Are you okay with me? What's wrong with me? You tell me, I'll change it, okay? There was pleading in his voice. With his head buried in my neck and shoulder, I was breathing heavily. For a moment, I wanted to promise him. I opened my mouth silently, and finally said, Dana Hal, I'm sorry. That day, I heard Syvia Hell say that Dana Hal was locked up when she brought it back. The Hal family's tutor is still very strict, but he is afraid of raising a gentleman young master and ruining the family business. He disappeared into my world again, but nothing was more uncomfortable than this one. I've never been so sad when I've been hacked by a scumbag. I was really touched by this little brother's heart, but my sanity told me that we couldn't be together. I don't know if Syvia Hell found anything. She hasn't looked for me since that day. The next time I got a call from Syvia Hell, it was me and my brother, who were going to the movies, and he saw that I was in a bad mood lately, so he came to relax with me. I was a little hesitant when I picked up the phone. Susie Sassoon, your brother said he was taking you to the movies. On the other side of the phone, it was still Syvia Hell's usual domineering royal sister voice. I told Dana Hal, you went to the movie with the man. As soon as Syvia Hell finished speaking, my heart skipped a beat, and I had a bad premonition. He jumped out of the window and ran out. A cold sweat broke out on my back. Syvia Hell, Susie Sassoon, listen to me. Dana Hal came home that day and had a showdown with us, saying he liked you. My dad didn't agree, so he was going on a hunger strike. At first, I didn't figure it out. One of you is my younger brother, and the other is my best friend. Why did you like it? Later, I figured it out. Was it that day? You said the little brother in the house. My voice was like a mosquito. Hey, I knew that I didn't think you were suitable, but you slept all of you, and I definitely had to make that kid responsible. Later, I thought, it's good for you to be my brother and daughter-in-law, so that you are a member of my family, and it's also good. I was touched in my heart that Syvia Hell is like that. She has always loved to protect me. My eyes were a little red, and I didn't wait for me to be moved. The next second, I saw a figure rushing straight at my brother. Bang, bang. After 2 punches, I felt that my already thin brother was about to shatter. I was so angry that I hurriedly pulled it. Dana Hal, you're sick. This is my brother. The person who was still beating my brother with blood suddenly froze, glanced at me, and immediately squatted down. Brother, misunderstanding. I rarely see him look at me aggrievedly from time to time when he is so cowardly. My brother was also confused, but he was not in a good mood to be beaten up for no reason. Susie Sassoon, who is he? Before I could speak, Dana Hal immediately looked at my brother aggrievedly. Brother, I'm sorry. I don't want me anymore when my sister sleeps. I thought you're her new love. As soon as he said this, my brother was stunned, and then he looked at me with an expression that he didn't expect. I'm dumbfounded, too. Dana Hal isn't done yet, and for the first time I've known that this little cub is so good at pretending. He lowered his head, his voice still a little confused and aggrieved. Brother, I just want to know what's wrong with me. I know that I'm not worthy of marrying my sister, but the child is innocent. Dana Hal, do you want to die? I roared. My brother looked at me with a blue face in an instant. Susie Sassoon, shut up. My brother glared at me fiercely. Finally Dana Hal and I were taken home, and my brother walked in the middle, separating me from Dana Hal and protecting Dana Hal. It looks like I'm a witch, and he's a little daughter-in-law who has escaped grievances. Only I could see the fangs behind the little cub. This thing is a big bad wolf. When I got home, I didn't even have the right to speak, and the family sat around Dana Hal. But as soon as I explained, Dana Hal's eyes started to get wet. In an instant, the whole family was biased towards him. In less than half an hour, Hal's parents and Syvia Hell arrived. This group of people was actually discussing our wedding, but I couldn't even say a word. Syvia Hell, who had just hung up and listened to the whole thing, looked at me sympathetically, and then at her big-tailed wolf brother. Dana Hal looked at me worriedly, and only I could see his tail wagging like crazy behind his back. I grind my teeth. He smiled obediently and said, Uncle, Auntie, I see that my sister is tired. Can I accompany her up to rest for a while? My parents looked at this prospective son-in-law with admiration on their faces, and nodded with a smile on their faces. Upstairs, I waved my little fist, which didn't have much fighting. Dana Hal, you open your eyes and talk nonsense. When did I get pregnant with your child? He chuckled in a low voice. Sister, don't worry, I'll work hard. Dana Hal. I still wanted to be angry, and the next second I was dragged into his arms. Sister, I have to do it quickly, otherwise, I'm afraid you won't want me again. I was so bored that I didn't speak again. I don't know how Dana Hal discussed it with my parents, but the next day she got my household registration book and took me to get the certificate. Later, after getting married, he said that he was afraid that the matter would be exposed, and he was counted down by my parents, and he worked hard to directly let me conceive his cub. Later, I wrote everything down. I want my baby to see in the future how shameless his father's way of chasing people is. However, I'm happy. The end.